Hello and welcome to 78621 Live. I'm Stacey Ford Osborne, the acting public information officer for the city of Elgin, and I host this podcast along with our co-host, Mayor Teresa McShann. Today, we are bringing you a brand new thing on 78621 Live, a council recap. This is where we're going to give you a recap of the council meeting the night before, let you know what happened, what actions council took for you on your behalf, and also put a link to the meeting, the full meeting, in the notes underneath this podcast so that you can watch it by yourself, the whole thing if you want to. Excuse me. Another new thing that we're doing with this podcast is we're going to be starting to do an audio version of it. It will be available on all the places where you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else that you listen. That'll be starting to be available starting tomorrow, and it'll be under 78621 Live. So we are really looking forward to having the audio version of this podcast as well, but we'll keep doing the video version as well here on YouTube so that you can see what's going on if that's what you prefer. All right. We are going to be doing a council meeting 101 that you'll be able to see later this week, and we'll keep that posted and pinned to the top so that you can understand what happens in a council meeting and what all of these things mean that I'm going to be talking about today. I won't explain them in depth in this podcast, but I will explain them in the future. This is my cat Olaf. Please excuse him. He likes to be a part of everything that I do. Okay, so let's talk about the recap for November 17th, 2025. This was a regularly called meeting. It was the only meeting that council will be having in November, and it included three public hearings, the city manager's report, several announcements, some new business that included the canvassing of the votes, and we did a lot of employee recognitions as well in this meeting. So lots to cover. I'm excited to tell you all about it. So, the first thing that we talked about in this meeting that is of interest to the general public are the public hearings. So, at this meeting, there were three public hearings. The first one was an ordinance that annexed a 38-acre tract of land that the city's been discussing as a possible location for a water treatment plant later this year or next year, I think is when they'll discuss the intricacies of that wastewater treatment plant. So the Planning and Zoning Commission held the first public hearing for this requested zoning on October 27th, 2025. And this was the second required public hearing on the zoning request. So in a public hearing, the city council reads the ordinance that they're considering. Staff explains everything that you need to know and that council needs to know so they can be well informed when they finally make their vote. But this is not where they make the vote. This is just a public hearing to let people know what they're considering and allow the public to comment on it. Depending on the ordinance, there may be one, two, three, many public hearings. For this particular one, there were two public hearings required. This was the second one. For this public hearing, there was one comment. Someone from the public got up and they were concerned about constructability, water usage, and the historic status of the land. And so they brought up their concerns during public comments for this particular hearing. There were two other hearings. Neither one of them had any public comments. The first one was for an ordinance that was amending the zoning on a tract of the land from the city from general industrial district to single family and duplex dwelling. So that public hearing was received and heard without any public comment. The third one was clarifying the definition of a side yard in the city's zoning ordinance, and that one also had no comment. The city manager's report included several items, including quarterly reports from various boards and commissions. There was a discussion and an appointment of the committee for distribution of the community nonprofit support funding. That's a committee that has to be in place according to the fiscal year 2025-26 annual budget. There was a status update regarding a minor change to usage of the Circle Brewing facility. That was under a planned development district agreement with the city of Elgin. There was a discussion on the authorization of the interim city manager to negotiate with the Elgin Chamber of Commerce for their contract renewal. And City Council did vote on that, and they authorized the city manager to move forward with those negotiations. We also, the city manager recognized our human resources director, Pamela Sanders. Congratulations, Pam. She was recognized for her completion of the Texas Municipality Human Resources Certification Program. So they announced that she had achieved that recognition and got her picture taken with her certificate with the mayor and the city manager. And then the city manager, and the mayor and council recognize several employees who have been with the city for 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 years. Big milestones for those employees. We'll be recognizing them on our website and our social media platforms in the coming weeks. So please watch for that. We'll be recognizing each of them individually, and it'll be a great chance to highlight some of our great employees and their longevity with the city of Elgin. The consent agenda, this is an agenda where they usually, the events are either self-explanatory, they don't require a discussion, and they're just there for the council to vote on. They usually vote on them all at once. Council members do have the right to pull any item that's on the consent agenda if they want to discuss it further. Last night, there were 6 items on the consent agenda, and all of them passed without comment or discussion. They included the meeting minutes from the last meeting, the appointment of Jessica Bega to the Board of Adjustments, and several special event applications and fee waiver requests for upcoming events in the city. Those included the Chamber of Commerce Christmas Bazaar, the Holiday Luna Market, the Nativity in Veterans Park during the holiday season, and the St. Patty's Day Festival planned for March. So, new business, there were 10 items in new business. The first one was an ordinance regarding employee benefits that passed unanimously after a little bit of discussion. It included an increase in retirement contributions, a COLA increase for employees, and the accrual of service credits. And that was passed unanimously by council. The second item was that our part-time administrative assistant for the city manager and the city secretary, her name is Esmeralda Rangel. She's wonderful, and she was reclassified to a full-time position. That's in anticipation of our city secretary, Peyton Sandifer, who is going to be having upcoming maternity leave. So we're making sure that Esmeralda is up to speed on what Peyton does and is able to take care of things in her absence. Esmeralda is a great asset to the city, and we're really happy to have her reclassified as a full-time employee. The council also discussed and voted on the 3 items that had public hearings at the beginning of the meeting. So this is the opportunity for council to actually take action on those items that had a public hearing earlier. All of those items passed unanimously, with the exception of the annexation of the land that they've been considering for that wastewater treatment plant. There was a long discussion by City Council about those comments that were brought up during the public hearing, so that does matter. And they deliberated for quite a while, but they decided to go ahead and move forward with the annexation. And this was just the annexation of the land. They didn't vote on what to do with it. They didn't vote on whether to put the wastewater treatment plant in place, none of that. All they voted on was to annex the land itself. That vote passed 6-1 with Council Member St. Pierre voting against it. Council also voted to include the annexed land in Council Ward Area Number 2 because they have to put the land in some ward. They have to say where that's going to be, and that passed unanimously. The next thing the council had to do was canvass the votes from the election that happened on November 4th. So when you canvass the vote, what that means is that the mayor reads aloud each of the initiatives that was on the ballot, and then she has to tell the public in this meeting how many people voted for and against each initiative in both Bastrop and Travis counties, because the city of Elgin is split between those 2 counties. So this ballot was a heavy one. There were a lot of initiatives on it, including 14 amendments to the city charter, and then the inclusion of the city of Elgin in the Bastrop County Emergency Services District 3, or ESD 3. You'll hear that said a lot in the media. So this took quite a while. She had to go through each of those 14 amendments. She had to read it out loud, and then she had to say the number of votes cast for and against it in both Bastrop and Travis counties. It took quite a while, but I'll give you a summary. All of the amendments passed except for Amendment E. That was the amendment concerning term limits for council members. All voters also, not all voters, but the majority of voters also voted to include the city of Elgin in ESD number 3. So after the mayor canvassed those votes and read them, council voted to accept the results as read for all of those initiatives. So there's your summary. If you want to see the whole thing, you can certainly see it, and the mayor did a great job of reading each one line by line. The next item on the new business was casting the votes for the Bastrop County Central Appraisal District Board of Directors, and all of those recommendations passed unanimously. And then the final thing on new business was a vote to advertise for a firm to conduct a new utility rate study for the city. So the city is going to be conducting a utility rate study, probably in January, depending on how this search goes. And so this was just council saying, yes, you can go ahead and advertise for a firm to do that study for us. So they're going to put that advertisement out, and then in December, we'll bring recommendations to council for who we should select for that firm. They will vote on that, and then we'll move forward with the rate study. So that's it. The city council adjourned. After that, they went into executive session, and there was no action taken after executive session. So there's your council recap for November 17th. If you want to see the entire meeting, just look at the notes under this podcast and click that link, and you can go straight to that meeting and watch it straight through. And you are encouraged to watch those meetings live. They are broadcast. The next one will be the first week in December, and we'll bring you a recap the day after. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back here at 78621 live soon, so stay tuned.